We have a huge update with all kinds of rumors, including some trade talk involving teams like the Islanders, the Rangers, and the new Seattle Kraken. We have some free agent rumors and updates, and it looks as though a lot of the players Seattle is selecting has been leaked by NHL insiders, and we'll discuss some of those names as well. All that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. Now, as I mentioned, we have a lot of information here today, a lot of which is rumored and speculation, but most of which will be confirmed here by tonight, if not by tomorrow, and talking about some of the free agent stuff as well. So before we jump into any of that, we do have some other news here, including the Ottawa 67s and Team Canada naming Dave Cameron the new head coach to lead the 67s junior team, and of course, he'll be representing he'll be looking after the World Junior team as head coach as well, replacing Andre Tourigny, who recently left the program to go take the head coaching job with the Arizona Coyotes. Now, of course, Cameron and Tourigny are really good friends. I'm sure a recommendation came from him, which probably helped, but Cameron is a well-accomplished coach himself, getting the job with the World Junior team in the past, as well as having a lot of success in the OHL. Recently coached over in Europe, and of course, he's the former assistant and head coach with the Ottawa Senators. So it's good to see him back in a head coaching role in North America. He had gone and was an assistant with the Flames as well after leaving Ottawa, and then, like I said, recently was over in Europe for the last couple of years, but now remakes the return. I know I had seen an interview with him not long ago saying he would consider making the jump back to North America, but it would have to be a very intriguing offer. And I think this, not only the 67s gig, but getting to work with Hockey Canada again is certainly worth his while and could pave a path for him to get eventually another opportunity at the NHL. So I know Dave Cameron, like I said, he's a well-experienced coach, a great human being as well, so nice to see an opportunity going his way. Montreal Canadiens have added an assistant coach in Trevor Letowski. He will join Dominic Ducharme's staff here on the bench for the upcoming season. Of course, he's worked with Ducharme before with Hockey Canada as well. Certainly an experienced former player and coach. So another addition. We had heard remarks from Ducharme at the end of the season when he was after he was extended and given the full-time permanent job, when being asked about guys like Luke Richardson and Alex Burrows on his staff. He said that not only did he feel comfortable saying that they should be re-signed and remain as part of his staff, but that they were looking to add another additional member as well, and looks as though this is the guy. So pretty decent hire there by the Montreal Canadiens. Now on to some of the free agent speculation, and of course we'll get into some of the trade talk and the Kraken rumors. On the free agent front, it looks as though Red Wings goaltender Jonathan Bernier will indeed be hitting free agency. I know there's still a chance he could sign back with Detroit, but it looks as though he wants to explore the market and see what else is out there. He's played relatively well for them the past couple of seasons, give them a chance to win on many nights, and a lot of the wins they do have are largely as a result of his play. I think that's fair to say. He's been a nice piece there for Detroit, but certainly he's not, at a point in his career we can really be viewed as the goaltender of the future. And of course they do have Thomas Greiss under contract as well. So I think in Bernier's situation here, he kind of wants to see if he can get an opportunity to be more of a prominent role, maybe on a team that might have a better chance to make the playoffs or something. Hard to say where he ends up. I wouldn't be completely shocked if he circles back and ends up back in Detroit. But at this point, it looks as though he won't sign before the 28th and will at least test the market. It's believed that Taylor Hall and the Bruins have reached a tentative deal, and that could be announced as early as tomorrow. At least that's how things sound at this point. Looking like it's going to be a 4-year deal, around $6 million. So Taylor Hall, as we've talked about on numerous occasions, seemed to be a great fit in Boston. Really from the get-go, it seemed like a good opportunity for him to re-sign and for them to get some stability there on that second line. Hopefully with David Krejci, of course, we're still waiting to see if he's going to re-sign and return. To be honest, I wouldn't be shocked here if we find out Krejci was kind of waiting to find out about the status of Hall or who his line mates are likely going to be before making that decision. It wouldn't be a complete shocker, and obviously he'll have to take less money. He was the highest paid player on the team, but given where he's at in his career and his age, I'm sure like many of the other Bruins guys that we've seen there be there a long time, he'll probably take a little bit more of a team-friendly deal. I would suspect somewhere maybe in that $5 million range perhaps. Probably a little bit less than Taylor Hall at this point in his career. We'll see how things work out, but that was a pretty good second line for Boston heading into the end of the regular season and the playoffs, and looking like things are trending towards returning. Of course, if Krejci doesn't return, they'll have to likely make some additional moves here and possibly looking to pick up another center iceman. But at that point, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Now, it's also believed that the Edmonton Oilers are reaching an agreement with Mike Smith to return on a multi-year deal. Yes, I did say multi-year. It's believed to be 2 years at $2 million per season. When I first heard multi-year, it concerned me. Obviously, I wasn't sure what Ken Holland was thinking, but once I found out it was $2 million per year, I was like, okay, that's not so bad. And at least on those multi-year deals for those veteran guys, you can't build in the bonuses like you can on a one-year deal. So at least you don't have to worry about him hitting a bunch of targets if he has a good year and making a bunch of extra money that'll count against your cap the following season. It is also believed that Mikko Koskinen will not return, and the Oilers are certainly working on either trying to find a trade or a buyout, whatever. One of those two things is going to happen, probably the buyout, and then from there they'll have to find a partner for Mike Smith for next year, and it's not quite clear on who that could be, because there's plenty of goaltenders out there between free agents or that might be available by trade that it's really hard to say exactly what direction they're going to go in. Now, it's also believed that Anaheim Ducks captain Ryan Getzlaf will re-sign with the Ducks to remain with the organization a bit longer. We don't have any clarity yet on what kind of deal we're looking at, what kind of term, likely short term, but how short we don't know, and exactly what the dollar figure will be. Of course, he was making around $8 million before. You know it's going to be less. He's not that expensive a player anymore, but word is he will return to Anaheim to continue his career, and we'll find out likely more details here in the next couple of days. And Blues winger Jaden Schwartz appears to be headed for free agency and likely leaving the Blues here as well. So it's believed that he's had conversations with the Blues, obviously, on a new contract. They are interested in retaining him. It's also believed that he did have conversations with Seattle, but chose not to sign. I don't know what the offer was, of course. But it looks as though right now he's going to hit the market and see what's out there. He's a player that's had, numerous teams appear to be interested. So I think there'll be a decent market for him. Hard to say exactly if he can get more money or how that's going to work out. But right now, according to Andy Strickland, who covers the Blues for The Athletic, it is looking like he's likely on his way out of St. Louis, which could be more room for a possible return for Mike Hoffman. I know we've talked about Hoffman, and if he hits free agency, teams like Montreal were rumored to be interested, and they still might be, but I think there's a better chance of Hoffman staying if they don't sign Schwartz. Personally, I think there's a good chance that one of them doesn't return for sure, but it also boils down to what they each end up doing. And now, of course, the Blues, if they lose both of those players, could be making some room to try to make a run at Gabriel Landeskog if he hits the market, and they will have obviously a good idea of that here in the next few days. It's believed on Landeskog that the Avalanche are going to make another run at this here and have a new conversation with them and see how things go, take another stab at it to see if they can bridge the gaps here and retain their captain in the organization. Obviously, Landeskog was able to speak with Seattle. They did not reach an agreement. He did not sign there, at least as of right now. So he is still available, still part of the Avalanche organization until the 28th. And Sakic is going to see what he can do, but there will be no shortage of interest. Assuming he does hit the market, wouldn't be shocked if Seattle circles back to him. Also wouldn't be shocked if the Blues make a hard run at him, along with a team like the New York Islanders, and there could be others as well. He's a high-end player who's going to give you lots of offense, lots of physicality, not afraid to drop the gloves, good leader, good character guy. Lots to be interested in, but there are reports out there that he's looking somewhere around the $9 million mark, and I have a hard time to believe that Gabriel Landeskog is going to get that kind of money. I love the player. I'd take him on my team any day of the week for the right price, of course. To me, $7 million is about his ceiling. At least that's my opinion. We will see, though. A team might end up overpaying for him and kind of go from there. There's always a few bad contracts every year. I think in the case, if he does get anywhere as close to $9 million, it's not necessarily going to be a real bad contract right away, but it's hard to imagine him living up to that type of production level. But anyway, another player who's getting all kinds of hype and could end up overpaid as well as Zach Hyman of the Leafs. There are reports saying he's going to get a 6x6 contract, and I know it's puzzling to a lot of players and executives around the NHL as to why he would get that kind of money. He's a really good player, does a lot of good things, but he's also 29 years old, had some serious injuries, and like Landeskog, he's at a stage of his career. Do you really want to commit 7 or 8 years on a long-term deal at, $6, $7, $8 million? It's a lot of money, and it's hard to imagine that could be a contract that, could easily be a bad contract not too far into the future, especially if they attach a no trade or a no move or one of those conditions in there as well. Certainly lots of interest around both of those players, and we'll see where things end up once we get further clarity on how things are looking. Now, before we jump into today's trade talk, I do want to pause for a moment and acknowledge our channel sponsor, Manscaped. Top Shelf Hockey is proud to be sponsored by Manscaped. Of course, with Manscaped, we have a special offer here for all Top Shelf Hockey viewers, where you can get 20% off and free shipping on all orders at Manscaped.com. Now, of course, Manscaped just launched a brand new Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, which is a fantastic product. They've taken a level up here, even again with the skin-safe replaceable blades. It's waterproof, it's wireless charging, has a travel lock on it, as well as a nice light so you don't miss what you're doing. So certainly a terrific product. Now, many people associate Manscaped with their trimmers, which is certainly kind of their top product, but they do have a lot of other great options as well, including what they call the Weed Whacker, which is another trimmer for your ears and nose. And they have a variety of deodorants and sprays as well, which also keep you fresh and are terrific as well. So certainly Manscaped has a lot to offer, and we certainly highly recommend all of their products. So check out manscaped.com and use promo code TSH for 20% off and free shipping. Now, when it comes to the trade talk, a couple of players that I can confirm are not going to Seattle and therefore not being traded. One of them would be Vladimir Tarasenko. So when it comes to St. Louis and the Tarasenko situation, in fact, he wants out, we're kind of back to square one, because at the end of the day here, when those lists of protected players had to be submitted, many thought that there was going to be a deal worked out, that Tarasenko would be taken by the Kraken and then ultimately flipped to either a team like the Philadelphia Flyers or possibly the New York Islanders, and there was even another team like the Florida Panthers in the mix there as well. But right now we have word that Tarasenko was not the selection. It's looking like a player like Vince Dunn is going to the Kraken through the expansion draft, and that's obviously off the table. So it's believed that the asking price for the trade was just going to be too much, and maybe some of these teams feel like they can get a better deal by dealing with St. Louis directly. There were reports that there was multiple teams, at least 2 or 3, that had offers on the table for the Blues to consider. I believe majority or all of them had St. Louis retaining some salary in the deal, and I guess before the protected list had to be submitted, they just felt that it wasn't good enough, that they could probably do a little bit better, and they were willing to risk losing him for nothing. So it kind of makes you wonder how the offers were. I mean, at that point, though, you got to imagine that teams are trying to take advantage of other team situations, and lowball offers were probably pretty apparent and happening on a regular basis as conversations were taking place. But now that part of the offseason is kind of be over with, and we're kind of back to square one, I would think that teams will start to make better offers. But at the same time, when it comes to Tarasenko, teams also know he wants out. St. Louis, unfortunately, has no leverage, and at this point, it's looking like they're not going to get a great return. But without salary retained, it's hard to imagine a team like the Flyers or the Panthers or the Islanders get a deal done, but it is believed at this point they're all still somewhat interested. But obviously things are going to have to start from scratch here, and a whole new dynamic of conversations taking place, and we'll see what happens. I mean, the Islanders are also linked to some other players out there as well. It's believed that Jordan Eberle will be their player that they're losing in expansion. So when you take him off the books, they're going to have just shy of $24 million in available cap space, with the Boychuk money going on long-term injury reserve. Of course, they have some RFAs to sign, but that does leave an opening and an opportunity for them to make a big splash. And of course, if they do make a trade for Tarasenko or anybody else that kind of fits that category, then they're going to be trading out some other assets too to kind of level out a little bit of that money. If they go the free agent route and go after a guy like Landeskog, which they could do, obviously there wouldn't be anything leaving. So, there's still some options that Lou has. He still has players like Thomas Hickey and Leo Komarov on the roster that he could either bury in the minors or buy out or trade. There's still like a few other little things he can do like that to create a little bit extra cap space, just to give them a little bit more wiggle room. Many believe that Zach Parise is heading to the Islanders. I saw reports earlier that they had hired his skating coach, I guess. So I haven't been able to confirm that, but if you've seen those reports, then certainly leave a comment about it so we can double check that information. And you have to wonder about his buddy Ryan Suter. Like, they seem to love playing together. With Nick Leddy gone, could they sign Suter cheaper? I mean, if they can get Suter for a much lower price tag than they had Leddy, that might help, replace him and give them the same sort of player who can play a similar type of minutes and, be a good replacement value there. That could really allow them to do a lot of other things. But at the end of the day, they can't just add guys like Suter and Parise. They need a more prolific scorer to add in the top 6 that can play with Barzal, whether it's Tarasenko or Gaudreau or Landeskog or one of those types of guys. To me, that's what they're really missing to take this team to the next level and get a little closer to being that cup favorite instead of losing out in the semifinals here once again. Now, it's also believed that the Rangers might have a side deal with the Kraken. It's believed right now we're hearing that the pick from Seattle is Colin Blackwell to take off the New York Rangers roster, but there's a lot of people that believe that there could be a deal in place that the Rangers might be able to keep Blackwell and send some other assets to make that change. So we're hearing that maybe Ryan Strome is a player that's out there. There has been some talk about him in the last number of days possibly being traded, so that wouldn't be a complete shocker. There could be more than Strome in the picture there as well. I'm not really sure. Or the other part of this that could be happening is not just so they can keep Blackwell, but it's also believed that they might have part of that deal that they can get Mark Giordano from the Flames, who was being selected by the Kraken, and then flip to the Rangers is what the rumor is. We'll have to wait and find out tonight once everything gets announced if that's official or not. But if Giordano with salary retained goes to the Rangers, they could get themselves another real solid defenseman here who can play a decent role for them. If they can get 50% salary retained and give them up some assets like a Ryan Strome, and they might have to put something else in there too, that's a good deal for Seattle, and that's a good deal for the Rangers, where he's only on 1 year. Obviously, the Rangers are probably looking to make some other bold moves here and to make a run for it. And if they move Strome, to me, that's going to be a real signal that they're pushing hard for Jack Eichel. I've said it before. I think the Rangers are the favorites myself. I've been saying it a long time that there's several other teams, including LA and Minnesota, Anaheim to a degree, who could put together as good or not even possibly a better package. But the Rangers, to me, I think are just the ones that are most interested in making it happen. And I can see a deal taking place. They've already moved out Brett Howden. If they move Ryan Strome, and then we could see a guy like maybe even Filipino could be a player involved in an Eichel trade, or maybe a Pavel Buchnevich and Alex Georgiev. So you have a couple of those guys as being the roster pieces. You got a first-round pick in there, maybe even 2 first-round picks. Really, it's possible. 1 for sure, though. And then you have the possibility of adding some younger prospects like Kravtsov, Schneider, as well as Robertson, maybe Zach Jones. So you're not going to have all of that, of course, but you're going to have a couple of roster players, a couple of prospects, and at least a first-round pick. So those are the pieces I believe that they would be most interested in moving to make an Eichel trade happen, and they could try to take advantage of the Sabres here if they're not getting better offers by the time they get to the draft, and we'll kind of go from there. But to me, if Strome was moved, that just further pushes the narrative that they're pushing hard for Eichel, and they're likely going to be a step closer to making it happen, at least in my opinion. Now, when it comes to the Seattle Kraken, although the selections that have been leaked, one thing that we do know is there's a lot of big ticket items that were avoided here. They did not take Carey Price from Montreal. It's believed to be Cale Fleury. They did not take Matt Duchene or Ryan Johansson from Nashville. That pick is believed to be Calle Jarnkrok. They also took Hayden Fleury from Anaheim, so the Fleury brothers will be playing together with the Seattle Kraken as long as they both stay a part of that organization, because there will likely be other trades here. So again, a Fleury or 2 goes to the expansion team. We saw what Marc-Andre did with Vegas. See if these 2 guys can have a similar type of effect. I know a different position, whole different story here. Just interesting that expansion teams and Fleury players having an impact there. It's also believed that the pick from the Leafs is Jared McCann. So, of course, they just picked him up from Pittsburgh for the purpose of protecting the rest of their roster. To me, though, I kind of wonder if they would have preferred Kerfoot to go. But at the end of the day, Kerfoot makes a little bit more money, would have given them a little more flexibility. If you feel confident that McCann can give you the same sort of on-ice play, it makes sense to keep him and let Kerfoot go, but obviously the Kraken preferred McCann. So at the end of the day, the Leafs, kind of minimized their loss there, but still, there seems to be, a 50-50 split on if they did the right thing or not, but I guess it might take some time to really know the answer to that. The Winnipeg Jets are apparently losing Mason Appleton. The Canucks are losing Cole Lynn. The Edmonton Oilers are losing Adam Larson, who's signing a free agent contract with the Seattle Kraken. The Dallas Stars are losing Jamie Alexiak, who are apparently signing a contract too as a UFA. Apparently, they took 3 goaltenders, including Chris Driedger from Florida, who signs a 3-year deal. They are also rumored to be taking Joey Decord from the Ottawa Senators and Vitek Vanacek from the Washington Capitals. A few other prominent names that were selected, making a decent amount of money, include Tampa Bay Lightning forward Yanni Gourde, as well as Brandon Tanev from the Pittsburgh Penguins. However, they also, in Philly, which was an interesting team, considering Dave Haxtell used to coach there, they did not bite on JVR, on Voracek, or on Shane Gostisbehere. They took Carson Twarynski instead, which was extremely, extremely surprising, given all the options they had from the Philadelphia Flyers. The Avalanche pick is believed to be Jonas Donskoy. The Islanders pick is believed to be Jordan Eberle. Coyotes pick is believed to be Tyler Pitlick. The Bruins pick is believed to be Jeremy Lauzon. The Kings are losing Curtis McDermott. Another surprising pick, the Carolina Hurricanes are losing Morgan Geekie. They passed on Jake Bean, which I found surprising, especially given how well Ron Francis knows that organization. So that is kind of a preview of what to expect tonight. Of course, that's all needs to be confirmed. Most of those released today were all confirmed by Frank Saravalli, who was absolutely on fire, dropping bomb after bomb on Twitter today. Ever since he's left TSN, he seems to be getting ahead of many of his former colleagues, and even knows that Sportsnet and elsewhere, really being the prominent insider, getting all of the information out about the expansion draft here today. So we'll see tonight and get everything confirmed, but there could also be side deals and trades that we don't know yet. So I caution you not to take all these picks and assume 100% that they're staying that way, because there could be conditions or other things attached that we have not yet learned, and we'll find out more this evening. I still encourage you to watch the expansion draft program, which will be on ESPN tonight in the US and Sportsnet in Canada. So certainly let me know your thoughts on the latest free agent and trade rumors, as well as some of these selections on the expansion draft. There will be a video out later on confirming all of the players selected in the expansion draft, and if there are any trades announced tonight, there will be content coming on that as well. So of course the roster freeze lifts tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock Eastern time, so there is expected to be a number of potential signings and or trades that could be announced tomorrow, so it could be a very busy day. And of course the day after we have the draft, which again could be busy, so stay tuned. We'll keep you up to date here at Top Shelf Hockey with all the chaotic hockey news in this current 2021 NHL offseason. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.